Alright everyone, we start off today talking about how equity effectively means dumbing everyone down that's at the upper end. It doesn't really mean uplifting anyone who's on the lower echelon. We've seen this before. It means robbing people who are high functioning, who in a meritocratic system would probably succeed very well. It means robbing them of that opportunity. I would like to give a personal anecdote before I get into Seattle trying to get rid of its gifted student program, because there were too many whites and Asians in the program, and therefore it's not diverse enough and it's not equitable enough. So in other words, if you get a high functioning student, fuck them basically. And they're not allowed to get free college credits for their AP course. They're not allowed to get jack shit. They've got to go to the dumb class with people who wear helmets. I oppose this strenuously, and I'll give you an anecdote. When I was younger, in elementary and middle school, I went to Woodstock, generally. I was in a couple of other schools at times as well. They didn't really have any coursework or classes for students that were particularly high functioning. And one of the things that caused for me personally was behavioral issues. I got bored. I went to class, and they'd give you, your sheet with the math on it. And, I'm doing pre-calc practically when everyone else is solving for X or something like that. I was high functioning. I got very good grades. I never had any academic problems when I was in school. But I had massive behavioral issues. And looking back, I realize it's because of the lack of more challenging coursework that I could actually do. I'm sitting there reading Hop on Pop when I would really rather be reading Roots. I'm sitting there doing very simplistic equations that I can do by that point in my head. I can't do that anymore, but at the time I was a math whiz. Sort of lost that particular talent and moved on to language more than anything else. And I would get the coursework done, like a 45-minute period, right? I'd get it done in 5 minutes. And they expected me to simply, as an adolescent, as a pubescent male especially with ADHD, they expected me to just sit in my seat silently. This is perfectly fine. I'm perfectly entertained. Everything is perfectly fine here. No. What actually happens when kids get bored? They act out. So I would stick gum on other people's desks, or I would shuffle around the room making weird noises. I would amuse myself. I'd be doodling, and so they didn't even want me to doodle. It's like, okay, I already did the work. Can I at least draw a picture or something like that? That'd be funny. Picture might be a little bit off color or inappropriate for a school setting, according to their draconian and authoritarian stupid standards, but, I acted out. Middle school is even worse. I got even more bored there. Again, my abilities are flourishing. The only time that I didn't act out was in horticultural class. Thank God they had that at Woodstock. Second I get to Mill River, which was the high school I went to, all of a sudden, 99% of my behavioral issues go away. Why? Because I had more challenging coursework. I wasn't bored. I was in college prep courses, I was in AP courses, I was in honors courses, and things like that. If you do this, number one, you're robbing the future generation of possibilities for enhancing their jobs, for getting ahead in life. That's number one. Number two, you're going to end up with more behavioral issues. Little Jimmy is really smart. He could be the teacher's pet if he's given the proper coursework, but you're saying that he's not allowed to go to the gifted coursework anymore. It's being phased out in a few years. And by the way, the parents object to this in Seattle. Overwhelmingly. They don't want this to happen, but the school said, you know what, fuck the parents. We're going to do it anyway. Oh, you're going to have so many more behavioral issues. I feel so sorry for students right now that are in schools. I feel sorry for everyone that has to go to school anyway, because let's face it, school ain't fun. Let's not kid ourselves. We all know this. And in high school, I got along tolerably well. I never had any real problems, but, getting up early in the morning and having to go there to the school and learn about sometimes things you don't really give a shit about and won't use in your life. Okay, everyone, we'll just admit to it. I'm not so old that I can't. School fucking sucks. That being said, if you're going to have to go to school, you should at least get an education that's commensurate with trying to make you succeed. I feel so sorry for students today, the youth. They've been subject to lockdownerism. They've been subject to the equity-based dumbing down of their coursework, which is going to rob the top 10% of them of opportunities that they otherwise would have had. And it's racist, too. It's literally predicated on there are too many white and Asian kids in these courses, so we can't do that. It's not equitable enough. We have to make sure that little Jimmy and little Chang don't get ahead too much. because otherwise it'll be a big cultural problem. The fact that they happen to be more intelligent than their contemporaries is obviously based on the color of their skin. Now, of course, little Jimmy and little Chang can get remedial work done outside of school. Hopefully their families are wealthy enough so they can homeschool and tutor or something like that, or put them in a private school that still does gifted programs. Not everyone's in that socioeconomic rung. Actually, when you think about it, the white and Asian kids that are disproportionately negatively impacted by this kind of decision are the ones from the lower socioeconomic strata. No, the upper middle classes, they'll say, okay, well, this school's not offering the gifted coursework for little Jimmy anymore. He's going to get bored. We want him to succeed. We want him to speak 3 languages and know full business accounting and have basically a degree by the time he finishes high school. Well, I guess we're going to send him to this private school. They can afford it. Or, well, we'll just teach him at home. I'm not good at math, like, with my child. I'm not very good at math. I'd have to have a math tutor or something like that. I could definitely teach botanical science and English. That would be easy. But you have to be in the right socioeconomic strata to afford these things. The poor and the middle class, they're not going to be able to afford that. They're not going to pay a shit ton of tuition at a private school. They're not able to. So they have to put their kid in the dumpy-ass public school that's no longer even going to have a gifted course for gifted students. I would think in a properly functioning society, we should be attempting to gravitate people towards the level of educational training that's commensurate with their intelligence and their skills. This is why we have tech ed. Some students, they're very skilled. They're intelligent. I knew plenty of them in high school. And Mill River had a partnership with Stafford Technical Center. And so let's say, you're smart, you're not dumb, you're not doing anything wrong, but you say, I really know that I want to go and be a chef. Or I want to be a cook or something. So I'll go and I'll do some coursework in the high school, and then I'll take a year at Stafford Tech, and I'll do the culinary arts. And I'll become a chef. Right, I graduate and I've already got a stable job for me. You can definitely make it as a chef. If you work in a Michelin star restaurant or something like that, you won't do too bad. Or, hey, I know that I want to do forestry. My whole goal is to do forestry. I don't want to be at a fucking office job or something. I want to work for the Forestry Service or as a private landscaper or something. So you took that in tech ed. And there were all sorts of AP and college prep and other offerings at the high school that I went to, and I was very, very glad that there were. But now, the kids in this school district, they're not going to get that opportunity. You're holding back tens of thousands of children from a proper education that they otherwise could get. I feel terribly sorry for these kids. I think that the kids are all right. It's the fucking adults that are the fucking problem. It's the Gen Xers and the Boomers that are holding things back at this point. They're the ones running public policy. Just don't blame us millennials. We've never actually managed to get into the rungs of power so far. And whenever we do, we seem to get subjugated to lawsuits and shit like that. That's about all. Peace out.